Welcome to my series on working with PsychoPy. In this first video, I'm going to give a general overview of working with PsychoPy. We'll take a look at the interface, we'll talk about the different ways we can work with the program, and then in subsequent videos, we'll dig a little bit deeper and we'll put together some experiments. So jumping right in, let's get started. I am currently looking at psychopy.org/download.html. And there are several options when it comes to downloading and setting up PsychoPy. So let me quickly break down the different options. There's really two main options. The first is you can download this standalone PsychoPy program that's going to come bundled with everything you need to work with PsychoPy. It's going to come with the PsychoPy Python package itself. It's going to come with Python, the underlying programming language that PsychoPy runs on. It's going to come with a code editor. It's also going to come with a builder utility, which allows you to design experiments without having to actually write any code. So all that comes bundled together. All these other instructions we see for manual installations are the more technical approach to PsychoPy, where if you are already a programmer and you just want to work with the core PsychoPy Python package, you could manually install that, and then you could write PsychoPy experiments in any code editor just using the raw code alone. Now, that is something I only recommend for more advanced programmers. Generally speaking, I think most people that are working with PsychoPy are doing it via the standalone application. So that's the approach we're going to focus on in this series. So step one, go ahead and download the standalone application by clicking this big blue button. It should auto-detect your operating system. And then once you download it, you would install it just like any other program on your computer. So just a quick run through this. On Mac, we would go to our downloads folder. We would find the installer that we downloaded. It's this .dmg file. If we double click that, we'll see this dialog where we can drag the PsychoPy application into our computer's application folder, and then it should be accessible. We could go to Spotlight and just search for it. So I've already installed it in my case, so I'm just going to search for it and go ahead and open up PsychoPy. While that's loading, I'll quickly switch over to my Windows install. Same thing here, we're on the download page. I would click this blue button to download the installer. And then once it was done, if I go to my downloads folder, here you can see the Win64 installer. If I double click that, I'll grant it access to my computer. And then you're going to see a series of setup screens that will walk you through the installation process. So you can just follow the instructions it gives you. But once again, I've already got this installed on this operating system, so I'm not actually going to go through that process. I'll just show you loading it on Windows. So once again, I'm just going to search for PsychoPy on my computer. Here we can see it listed under apps, so I'll click that. And just like we saw on the Mac, we see this boot up screen. And if I give it a moment, it should finish opening up PsychoPy. And there we go. We now see this PsychoPy interface. All right, so that's how to get the standalone application installed and running on your computer. I'm going to switch back to my Mac operating system, and that's primarily where I'm going to be working. Generally speaking, PsychoPy works the same as it does on Mac and Windows, but if there's any difference for something you need to do on Windows, I will highlight that as we go through and work with this program. So proceeding forward, the first thing I want to do is get familiar with the PsychoPy interface. And you'll observe that right now on my screen, the window I'm looking at the very top, it's called the PsychoPy Coder. This is one of 3 different views you're going to be working in when working in PsychoPy. And if you don't see this, let's say you see PsychoPy Builder or PsychoPy Runner, it just means you're in one of the other views. So let me talk about how we can switch between these views so you can get into the same view that I'm currently in. The way you're going to do that is regardless of what screen you're seeing, on the right side you see the views options, and there are 3 different options here. The first is for the PsychoPy Builder, the second is for the PsychoPy Coder, and the third is for the PsychoPy Runner. Now you can see the middle option for me is grayed out because that's the view I'm currently in. I'm in the Coder view. This is where we would write code to build our experiments. Now to contrast that, I'm going to switch over to the Builder view, so that's going to be this first icon. And that's going to bring up an entirely different window with a different set of options. This is the Builder, which is a visual interface for designing our experiments. Rather than writing code, we have things like components. We can drag and drop the different parts of our experiments, fill in settings for the experiments. It's a much more guided approach to making experiments. Now, the third view is the Runner, so that's going to be this third icon on the right. This is going to provide details about our experiments once they're running. We can see what experiments are running, if there's any errors coming from those experiments, and we can also terminate them if we need to. So now that we have a broad overview of the 3 different views you're going to be working with in PsychoPy, let's zoom in just a little bit on each of those views. And let's start with the coder view. So I'm going to click the middle view button again to bring up the coder window. And then I'll click the top left button to initialize a new empty code file. And for an example, I'm going to go over to the notes that accompany this video. I have the code for a basic lexical decision task experiment where we can present the participant with a series of either words or non-words and ask them to categorize them. So copying this code, I'll bring it back to PsychoPy and just paste it in there. And then to run this code or run this experiment, I'm going to click this little green play button. Because this is a new untitled file, it is going to ask me if I want to save changes to it, and I'll go ahead and say yes. And I'll just put this on my desktop. I'll call it example.py, where .py is short for Python because this is a underlying Python file that we've created here. And then I'll go ahead and save that and give it a moment. It should load up that experiment. All right, so here is our experiment window. So this experiment is designed to first show the participant a series of instructions. They're told they're about to see a series of characters. If the characters make up a word, press the right arrow key. Otherwise, press the left arrow key and press space to begin the experiment. So just to run through this, I will press the space bar. The first series of characters we see does not make up a word, so I will press the left arrow key. Same thing for the second word. Bar is a word, so I'm going to press the right arrow key, and I'll just continue with this pattern until eventually the experiment should end. And in this very bare bones experiment, as you can see, when the experiment ends, it just simply closed, which is a bit abrupt. That's not very user-friendly for our participant. Later in the series, we'll evolve this experiment, and I'll show how you can add like an end screen thanking the participant and making it clearer that the experiment is actually over. But let's not worry about those details right now. The key thing is just that we have this code for experiment. We saw how to run it by just clicking the play button. The other thing we can observe here in the coder window is we have output below as a result of running that experiment. And we are going to see some details here talking about a monitor specification. And there's also some warnings about frames. And all this is coming from the fact that when you're working with PsychoPy, oftentimes timing is going to be essential. Like we want very precise details about reaction times. And a lot of what goes into that is actually understanding the frame refresh rate of the monitor that the participant is using. You really want to fine tune that and understand that to get very precise data about things like response time. For our basic examples, we're not super concerned about that for right now. So we're going to ignore some of these messages about the monitor specification and the frame dropping. That's more advanced things we can look at later as we get further into the experiments. What I do want to scroll up to is in this output, I programmed it so it would just output the results of the experiment directly here to this console. And here are the results of this. We see each of the words or pseudo words that the participant was presented with, and then we see either a 0 or a 1 following that. Now, the first 0 or 1 indicates whether or not it was actually a word or not. So if it wasn't, it would be 0, and if it was a word, it'd be 1. And then the next value is just indicating whether the participant got it right. So in my case, you could see I've got 1s all the way down for that last value. That indicates I got it correct for all of the words. And just to contrast that, let me run that experiment again. And this time, I'm going to just hit the right arrow for every word, just to simulate some incorrect answers. All right, and if you look at the output of that, so I'm going to scroll up, you can see that for some of them it was correct or 1, and some of them it was incorrect or 0. All right, so very rudimentary example where we're just outputting the data directly to this console. Obviously, with real experiments, what we would want to do is take this data and write it to some external file, some sort of spreadsheet file, a CSV file, Excel file, so that we could actually do some manipulation on that data. And we'll talk about how to do that. But what I wanted to demonstrate here is just the basics of an experiment where you present some stimuli and you correct or collect some response from the participant. So now that we have a taste of coding experiments directly, let's switch context. Let's go over to the builder view. And what we see here is a series of tools for building an experiment using a visual interface. So for example, on the right, we have a series of different components that we might want to add to our experiment, things like text, or we could respond to keyboard and mouse input. We could simply drag and drop these into our experiment and customize it that way without having to write any code. And once again, I think the best way to get a broad understanding of this is seeing a full example. So I'm going to go back to the notes that accompany this video, and after the code example, I have a link where you can download a zip file with a completed PsychoPy experiment for the same lexical decision task. We're just building it in the builder. So if you want to follow along, you can download that. I've already downloaded it, so it's in my downloads folder. I'm just going to double click it to unzip it. And then in the resulting folder, if we take a look in there, we can see this lexical decision task file with a PsyExp extension. Anytime you create an experiment using the PsychoPy builder, this is the file extension we'll use. So this is what we want to open up. So coming back to PsychoPy, I'm in the builder view. I'm going to click the open icon. And I'm going to go to my downloads folder, find that lexical decision task folder, and then open up that experiment. And you can see that filled in my interface a bit with some details. Before we look at that specifically, let's just run this experiment. So just like we did in the coder view, we're going to click this green button to run it. And then we can see our experiment popped up. And just like we did in the code version of this experiment, we see instructions. So we're going to press the spacebar to begin. And then same thing, I'm just going to use my arrow keys to go through each of the words. And then this experiment does have an end screen where we're told we can press the spacebar to exit, so I'll do that. And then that concludes the experiment. Now, one thing I want to highlight with running the experiment from the builder view is it popped up the PsychoPy runner view. Remember, this is one of the 3 views we could be potentially looking at. And what we see here is just details about the experiment that was just run, any output from that experiment. And then when the experiment was running itself, we also had access to the stop button, which we can use to terminate an experiment early if we wanted to. Now, when we ran the experiment from the coder view, the same runner was popping up. I think it just wasn't as prominent. It might have been showing behind the coder view, and that's why we weren't seeing it. But I do want to emphasize, anytime you're running an experiment, whether it be one you code or one you create in the builder, you will see the runner window, or it should be available, so you can kind of manage the running of that experiment. But putting that aside, let's take a closer look at the builder and get our heads wrapped around the general idea of how we build experiments in this mode. Basically, there's 3 main parts we're going to be working with. We have the routines part, which is shown in this frame of the window. Below that, we have the flow, and on the right, we have the components. Now, within the flow, this is like the timeline of your experiment, and it's made up of routines. So in this case, we have 3 routines, one called welcome, one called trial, and one called thanks. The welcome routine, which I currently have open in the routines pane, is made up of 2 components. There's a text component that has our actual welcome message, and then there's a keyboard component that waits for the user to press the space bar to start. And for any of these components, if we click them, it's going to bring up a panel where we can set details about that component. For example, for our welcome text, there's a text input for the actual text we want to display in the screen. We can indicate how long we want that text to appear for. We can adjust the appearance and the formatting of that text. Similarly, for the keyboard response, if we double click that, we could see things like what key are we actually listening for. In this case, we're listening for the space key. All right, so within our flow, we have routines. And in this example, our first routine is the welcome routine. That's going to show some basic text and wait for the space bar to be pressed. Now, moving on, our next routine we called trial. This is like the core of the experiment. And if I double click that, you can see our routines pane here updated. So now we're looking at the trial. And the trial also contains a text component and a key response component. If we look at the text here, this is going to be showing our word. And in this case, we're using a variable that's actually pulling from a conditions file that's included as part of this experiment. And in the video where I go through making experiments and using the builder, I'm going to show how to set that up. I'll talk about that in more detail. But for this bird's eye view of how this works, just to understand that this is a dynamic variable that's going to vary each time through this trial, showing a different word pulling from our conditions file. And just like with our welcome message, we can adjust things like the timing of this, the appearance, so on and so forth. All right, now the key response in this case, we're not listening for just a spacebar, we're listening for either the left or right key, so we're indicating that here. Now the thing to understand in the flow down here, if we contrast the trial routine versus the welcome routine, is we have this like loop graphic. And this is indicating that we're going to be doing this routine multiple times. This is set to repeat for however many words we have in our conditions file. All right, and then finally, the last part in our timeline or our flow is the thanks routine. And once again, if we double click it, we can see the settings for this routine. It is also made up of a text and a keyboard component, where the text has our thank you message, and then the keyboard component is waiting for the spacebar to exit the experiment. So just to recap, the flow is the timeline of your experiment. It's made up of routines, which you can customize. And the way you customize that is by adding different components that PsychoPy has available. And then for each of those components, you could edit the settings of those components. All right, and those are the core ingredients of how you put together an experiment using this builder view. Now, of course, there's a lot more details to be covered here in terms of how you actually use the components, how you build the flow, edit your routines, and I'll be addressing that, as I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to be doing follow-up videos to this, one where I go through building an experiment in the coder, talking about that in more detail, and I'll also do one of working within this builder interface. But to wrap up this overview video, you might be wondering, well, why would I use one over the other? And the answer to that question is going to depend on a couple factors. Factor number one is just going to be your comfort level with code. Obviously, if you're an experienced programmer, you might be more comfortable in the coder view and appreciate that approach to building experiments. Whereas if you're new to programming and you find that intimidating, this visual interface of putting together an experiment might be something that is more comfortable for you. That being said, there are plenty of advanced programmers that use the visual interface just because it can make some of the process of building experiments a little bit more intuitive. You get this nice visual flow of what's going on. It's much more point and click. So it depends. It depends on how you like to work. It also depends on what you're trying to do. You might find that some more advanced things are actually easier to do in the code view. And actually speaking to that, there is a hybrid approach that I haven't talked about yet where you can integrate code into your experiment that you're building in Builder. So let's say the majority of it you want to do via this nice interface, but there's a specific part of the experiment where you want to be a little bit more powerful in what you're doing by accessing code. You can actually integrate that. And just to show that, that's under components and custom. You can see you can add a code component. So you can really get the best of both worlds of the power of code with the flexibility of the builder. It depends a lot, like I said, on the experience and what you're trying to accomplish. So hopefully if you follow along in this series and you see both approaches, you can walk away and decide which approach makes the most sense. And that answer to that question might depend on the experiment itself. All right, so lots to dig into here with PsychoPy. It's a pretty neat program, so I hope you'll follow along in the series. And if you have any questions up to this point on installing it, setting it up, or any of the basics I showed in this video, feel free to leave a comment below.